I was 62 years old when my son-in-law tried to murder me for $18 million. The morning it happened, I was driving my new Tesla Model X down a winding mountain road outside Aspen, Colorado. I'd just picked up the keys 3 days earlier. Black exterior, cream leather interior, every tech feature available. A retirement gift to myself after selling my software consulting firm to a Boston venture capital group. $18 million in cash, another $2 million in earnest payments over 3 years. The road curved sharply to the right. I pressed the brake pedal. Nothing happened. I pressed harder. The pedal went straight to the floor like I was pushing through water. The Tesla didn't slow down. It accelerated. I yanked the emergency brake. Nothing. The car flew around the curve at 60 miles per hour. Pine trees blurred past my window. I could see the guardrail coming up fast, and beyond it, a 200-foot drop into a rocky canyon. I don't remember the impact. I remember the sound of metal tearing, glass exploding, and then the sensation of falling. The airbags deployed, slamming into my chest and face. The car tumbled twice before wedging between two massive boulders about 40 feet down the cliff face. When I opened my eyes, I was hanging upside down, held by my seatbelt. Blood dripped from my forehead onto the deflated airbag below me. My left arm was broken. I could feel the bone grinding when I tried to move it, but I was alive. I heard voices above me, footsteps crunching on gravel. "Oh my God, is someone down there?" A woman's voice. "I'm calling 911, a man. Then another voice, closer. "Sir, can you hear me? I'm a paramedic. I'm coming down to you." His name was Marcus Torres. He'd been driving behind me with his wife when he saw me go through the guardrail. He rappelled down using rope from his truck and stayed with me until the rescue team arrived. While we waited, shivering in the November cold, he asked me questions to keep me conscious. "What's your name? Where are you from? Do you have family nearby?" I told him my daughter Jessica and her husband Brendan were staying with me at my cabin in Snowmass Village. We were supposed to go skiing that afternoon. It was a celebration. I'd sold my company. I was finally retired. Finally free to spend time with my only child. "The brakes failed," I said, my words slurring from shock. "I just got this car. The brakes completely failed." Marcus went quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Mr. Morrison, I need to tell you something. I do emergency vehicle recovery in this area. I know Teslas. They have redundant brake systems, hydraulic and regenerative. For both systems to fail simultaneously." He paused. "That doesn't happen by accident." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying someone might have tampered with your car." The rescue took 2 hours. They airlifted me to Aspen Valley Hospital with a broken arm, 3 cracked ribs, a concussion, and a gash across my forehead that required 17 stitches. The doctors said I was lucky. 2 feet to the left and I would have dropped straight down the cliff. No survival. Jessica arrived at the hospital in tears. She's 34. Blonde like her mother was, with the same nervous habit of twisting her wedding ring when she's anxious. She wrapped her arms around me carefully, avoiding my injuries, and sobbed into my shoulder. "Dad, oh my God, Dad, I thought I'd lost you." "I'm okay, sweetheart. I'm okay." Brendan stood behind her, his hand on her back. He's tall, athletic build, sandy brown hair, always perfectly styled. He works in commercial real estate development in Denver. Been married to Jessica for 6 years. "Robert," he said, using my first name like he always did, never Dad or Bob. "What happened out there?" I told them about the brake failure, about Marcus's suspicion that someone had tampered with the car. Brendan's face showed the appropriate concern. "That's insane. Who would do something like that? Did you have any problems with the car before today?" "No. It was brand new." "Maybe it was a manufacturing defect," Jessica said. "We should call Tesla. They need to know their cars are failing." But I was watching Brendan's face. Something about his expression didn't match his words. His eyes were calculating, not shocked. Like he was working through a problem, not reacting to news. The police came that evening. 2 detectives from the Pitkin County Sheriff's Office. They took my statement and said they'd investigate, but their tone suggested they thought it was probably just a mechanical failure. New cars have problems sometimes. Electronics glitch. Things happen. Marcus Torres visited me the next morning. He brought coffee and asked how I was feeling. Then he pulled up a chair next to my hospital bed and lowered his voice. Mr. Morrison, I went back to the crash site after they towed your car. I wanted to check something. He glanced at the door to make sure we were alone. Your brake lines were cut, not cleanly, like someone did it with proper tools. They were partially severed, maybe 80% through, enough that they'd hold under normal driving but fail completely when you needed them most. My mouth went dry. You're sure? I'm sure. And there's something else. The parking lot at your cabin has security cameras. I talked to the property management company this morning. They keep footage for 30 days. Someone accessed your car in the early morning hours yesterday, around 3 a.m. Who? Marcus pulled out his phone and showed me a still image from the security footage. It was grainy, shot from above, but clear enough to identify the person crouched next to my Tesla with a flashlight and tools. It was Brendan. I stared at the image for a long time. My son-in-law. The man my daughter loved. The man who called me Robert instead of Dad and always seemed to be calculating something behind his friendly smile. Why would he do this? I asked, though part of me already knew the answer. Money. It always came back to money, Marcus said. I don't know. But I think you need to be very careful. I can take this to the police if you want. I thought about Jessica. About how she'd react if her husband was arrested for attempted murder. About how it would destroy her. About how I had no proof of motive, just security footage that Brendan could explain away. I'd been letting him borrow my car. He was checking something. He heard a strange noise and was trying to help. Not yet, I said. I need to understand why first. I need to know what's going on. Marcus nodded slowly. I understand. But Mr. Morrison, if someone tried to kill you once, they might try again. Be careful. He gave me his number and left. I lay in that hospital bed thinking. The sale of my company had closed 3 weeks ago. $18 million, minus taxes, minus the buyout I'd given to my 2 business partners. After everything, I'd walked away with $12 million. My will left everything to Jessica. I'd set it up that way after my wife Ellen died from ovarian cancer 8 years ago. Jessica was 26 then, just finishing her MBA. Brendan wasn't in the picture yet. If I died, Jessica would inherit everything, and Brendan would have access to it all. The doctors released me 2 days later with my arm in a cast and a bottle of pain medication. Jessica insisted I stay at their cabin instead of mine. She wanted to take care of me. I agreed because I needed to watch Brendan, needed to understand what was happening. Their cabin was smaller than mine, a 2-bedroom rental in Snowmass Village they'd booked for the week. Jessica had planned this whole trip around my retirement. Skiing, dinners, quality time together. She'd been so excited about it. Now she fussed over me constantly, bringing me tea and adjusting my pillows and asking if I needed anything. Brendan was solicitous too, asking about my pain level, offering to pick up anything from the pharmacy, making sure I was comfortable. I watched him carefully, tried to see the person who'd cut my brake lines, but he seemed normal, attentive, concerned. That night, after Jessica went to bed, I couldn't sleep. My ribs hurt, and my mind was racing. I got up carefully and walked to the kitchen for water. The cabin was dark, except for a light under the door of the 2nd bedroom that Brendan had converted into a temporary office. I heard his voice, talking on the phone, keeping his voice low but angry. I know what I owe you. No, I don't have it yet. I told you, I'll have it soon. You need to give me more time. A pause. My father-in-law just sold his company for $18 million. My wife is his only heir. I'll have the money in a few weeks, I promise. Another pause. Because he's not dead yet. Brendan's voice rose, then dropped back to a harsh whisper. The brake thing didn't work. The car crashed, but he survived. I need another opportunity. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might give me away. I backed away from the door slowly, carefully, and returned to my room. I sat on the bed in the dark, trying to breathe quietly through the pain in my ribs and the shock of what I'd just heard. Brendan owed someone money. Enough money that he was willing to kill me for it. And now he was planning to try again. I needed to get out of here. Needed to go somewhere safe and figure out what to do. But if I left suddenly, Brendan would know I suspected something. He might panic, might do something to Jessica. No, I needed to stay. Needed to pretend nothing was wrong while I figured out how to protect my daughter and stop him. The next morning, I told Jessica I wanted to go back to my own cabin. She protested, but I insisted. I needed my space, my things. I'd be fine. She finally agreed, making me promise to call if I needed anything. Brendan drove me back to my cabin in Jessica's car. On the way, he asked about my plans for the money from the sale. Well, I said carefully, most of it's going into investments. Conservative stuff. Bonds, dividend stocks. I want to make sure Jessica is taken care of if anything happens to me. That's smart, Brendan said. Have you thought about estate planning? With that much money, you need to be really careful about taxes and all that. I have a lawyer handling it. Who? The question was too quick. Too interested. Edward Chen in Denver. Friend from college. That was a lie. My lawyer was actually Susan Martinez in Boulder, but I wanted to see what Brendan would do with false information. He nodded. Good. Good to have a professional handling it. We drove in silence for a while. Then Brendan said, Robert, I want to apologize. For what? For not being there faster when you had your accident. Jessica and I should have been following you that morning. Should have been there to help. You couldn't have known what would happen. Still, I feel responsible somehow. Your family, he said it so sincerely that if I hadn't heard his phone conversation last night, I might have believed him. Back at my cabin, I thanked him and watched him drive away. Then I called Marcus Torres. I need your help, I said. We met that afternoon at a coffee shop in downtown Aspen. Marcus brought a friend, a detective named Sarah Coleman, who worked financial crimes in Denver. She was off duty, but Marcus had told her about my situation, and she'd agreed to help unofficially. I told them everything. The phone conversation I'd overheard, my suspicion that Brendan was in serious financial trouble, the fact that Jessica would inherit everything if I died. Sarah pulled out a tablet and started making notes. Do you know what kind of trouble he's in? Gambling? Drugs? Business deal gone wrong? I don't know. He works in commercial real estate, supposedly doing well. Can you get me his full name, date of birth, social security number if possible? Jessica might have that information. Don't ask her directly. It'll tip him off. Check his documents if you can. Driver's license, anything like that. Over the next 3 days, I became a detective in my own life. I accepted Jessica's invitations to dinner at their cabin, played the role of recovering father, asked Brendan casual questions about his work, his projects, his life. I learned that he'd been working on a big development deal in Denver, a mixed-use complex in the Reno district. $20 million project. His company was the lead developer. We broke ground 6 months ago, he told me over dinner one night. Should be completed by next summer. It's going to be beautiful. 8 stories. Retail on the ground floor, offices and condos above. That's impressive, I said. You must have investors. Oh yeah, bunch of them. We did a private equity raise. Got the funding in place last year. Jessica beamed at him. Brendan's been working so hard on this. Sometimes he's up till 2 a.m. dealing with contractors and permits and everything. After dinner, I excused myself to use the bathroom. Instead, I slipped into their bedroom and found Brendan's wallet on the dresser. I pulled out his driver's license and took a photo with my phone. Then I found a folder on his nightstand, labeled Reno Project. I photographed several pages of financial documents before I heard footsteps in the hall. I made it back to the bathroom just as Jessica passed by. Dad? You okay? Fine, sweetheart. Just moving slow with these ribs. I sent the photos to Sarah Coleman that night. She called me the next morning. Robert, we need to talk. In person. We met at a different coffee shop. This one in Basalt, 30 minutes from Snowmass. Sarah had done a deep dive into Brendan's finances. Your son-in-law is in serious trouble, she said, spreading documents across the table. The Reno development project he told you about? It's hemorrhaging money. The construction costs came in 40% over budget. There are major structural issues with the foundation that weren't caught during the initial survey. They had to do emergency stabilization work that cost an extra $3 million. So the project is losing money? It's worse than that. Brendan personally guaranteed some of the loans. He used that guarantee to attract additional investors, told them he had skin in the game, but he lied about having the collateral. He pledged assets he doesn't actually own. How much does he owe? $4.7 million, and it's due in 2 months. If he doesn't pay, the investors will sue him personally. He'll lose everything: his house, his car, his career. He might even face fraud charges. I sat back in my chair, trying to process this. And he thinks if I die, Jessica inherits my money, and he can use it to save himself. Exactly. But there's more. Sarah pulled out another document. I looked into his recent financial activity. 3 months ago, he took out a life insurance policy on you. $2 million. Jessica is listed as the beneficiary, but he forged your signature on the application. The coffee in my stomach turned sour. Can he do that? No. It's insurance fraud. But if you died in that crash before anyone investigated, Jessica would have received the payout and Brendan would have access to it. So, he gets my inheritance plus $2 million in insurance. That's the plan. Marcus leaned forward. Robert, you need to go to the police. We have enough evidence now. The tampered brake lines, the security footage, the financial motive, the forged insurance policy. They'll arrest him. I thought about Jessica, about how she looked at Brendan, about how she talked about their future together, about how this would destroy her. If we arrest him now, I said slowly, Jessica will never believe it. She'll think I'm making it up. She'll hate me for taking him away from her. She might even try to help him defend against the charges. Sarah frowned. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting we need to catch him in the act, trying to kill me again, with witnesses, with evidence that's so clear, Jessica can't deny it. That's dangerous, Marcus said. He's going to try again anyway. You said it yourself. He's desperate. $4.7 million due in 2 months. He can't wait for me to die naturally. But if we control the situation, if we know when and where he'll strike, we can catch him and protect Jessica at the same time. Sarah and Marcus exchanged looks. Finally, Sarah said, What did you have in mind? I told them my plan. 2 days later, I invited Jessica and Brendan to go hiking with me. There's a trail near Maroon Bells, one of the most photographed spots in Colorado. Beautiful scenery, moderate difficulty, popular enough that there are always other hikers around, but with some isolated sections. I'm feeling better, I told Jessica on the phone. The fresh air will be good for me, and I want to spend time with you both before you head back to Denver. Dad, are you sure? You're still recovering. I'll be fine. We'll take it slow. Brendan got on the line. Robert, I don't know if that's a good idea. What if something happens? Then I'll have you two there to help me. Come on, it'll be fun. He couldn't refuse without raising suspicion. We met at the trailhead at 8 a.m. It was early November, cold but clear. The aspens had lost most of their leaves, and the mountains were dusted with snow at the higher elevations. Jessica wore a bright pink jacket and new hiking boots. Brendan had on expensive North Face gear and carried a large backpack. What's in the pack? I asked. Water, snacks, first aid kit. You know, safety stuff. We started up the trail. I made sure to walk ahead, setting a slow pace. Behind me, I could hear Jessica chatting about the scenery. Brendan was quiet. Marcus and Sarah were already on the trail, positioned at strategic points. They were dressed as hikers, blending in with the other people enjoying the morning. Marcus had a camera with a long lens. Sarah had recording equipment hidden in her jacket. The trail wound through aspen groves and across streams, climbing gradually toward the bells. After about 45 minutes, we reached a section that crossed a narrow ridge with steep drops on both sides. The trail was wide enough to be safe, but if someone fell, they'd tumble 100 feet down loose scree. This was the spot we'd chosen. I stopped to catch my breath, making a show of being tired. Let me rest a minute. Jessica came up beside me. Dad, maybe we should head back. You're pushing yourself too hard. No, I'm fine. Just need a moment. Brendan stood a few feet behind us, his hand on his backpack strap. I could see him looking around, checking for other hikers. There was an older couple about 200 yards ahead, and a young family with kids about 300 yards behind us. For the moment, this section of trail was relatively isolated. "Jessica," I said, "can you run ahead and ask that couple if they have any extra water? I forgot to bring enough." "Dad, we have water." "I know, but I'm really thirsty. Please?" She sighed but smiled. "Okay, be right back." She jogged up the trail toward the couple. I watched her go, making sure she was far enough away. Then I turned slightly so my back was to the steep drop-off. Brendan moved closer. His hand slipped into his backpack. "Beautiful view, isn't it?" I said. "Yeah, really beautiful." "Brendan, I've been thinking about what you said, about estate planning." "Oh yeah? I've decided to change my will. I'm going to set up a trust for Jessica. That way, if anything happens to me, the money is protected. She'll get it in installments over 10 years. Nobody can touch it, not even her husband." Brendan's face went very still. "Why would you do that?" "Because I want to make sure she's taken care of. Make sure the right people have access to it. I'm her husband. I'm the right people. Are you?" His expression changed. The friendly mask dropped, and I saw something cold underneath. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means I know about the Reno project. I know about the 4.7 million you owe. I know about the insurance policy you forged. And I know you cut my brake lines." For a moment, he didn't move. Then his hand came out of his backpack, holding a small revolver. "You couldn't just die quietly, could you?" he said. "No. Jessica's going to be devastated. Her father, shot by a random crazy person on a hiking trail. Happens sometimes. Wrong place, wrong time. She'll figure it out eventually." "No, she won't. Because I love her. I'll comfort her, help her through her grief. And eventually, when enough time has passed, I'll suggest that maybe we should contest that trust arrangement you just told me about. We'll break it. Get the money. Save my project. And she'll never know." He raised the gun. Two things happened simultaneously. Marcus stepped out from behind a boulder 20 feet to our right, camera raised, getting everything on video. And Sarah appeared from a cluster of trees to our left, her own weapon drawn. "Federal agent, drop the gun." That was a lie. Sarah wasn't federal, but it worked. Brendan's head whipped toward her voice. He started to turn the gun in her direction. I dove to the side as Brendan fired. The shot went wild, echoing across the valley. Sarah fired back, hitting Brendan in the shoulder. He dropped the gun and fell to his knees, screaming. Marcus ran forward and kicked the gun away. Other hikers were shouting, running toward us. Someone was calling 911. Jessica came sprinting back down the trail. "Dad! Dad! What happened?" I caught her as she reached me, holding her while she stared at Brendan on the ground, bleeding, with Marcus holding him down. "He tried to kill me, sweetheart. He's been trying to kill me." No, that's not. "Brendan?" She looked at him, desperate for him to deny it, to explain, to make it make sense. But he just looked at her with something like regret and said, "I'm sorry, Jess. I'm so sorry. I needed the money. I didn't have a choice." She collapsed against me, sobbing. The police arrived within 20 minutes. Real police this time, not just Sarah pretending. They arrested Brendan for attempted murder, conspiracy to commit murder, insurance fraud, and half a dozen other charges. The district attorney would add more later. Marcus's video showed everything. Brendan pulling the gun, Brendan confessing, Brendan firing at me. Combined with the evidence Sarah had gathered about the brake lines and the financial motive, it was an airtight case. Brendan's lawyer tried to make a deal, but the DA wasn't interested. The trial lasted 3 weeks. I testified. Jessica testified, though she could barely look at Brendan during the proceedings. Marcus and Sarah both testified. The jury convicted him on all counts. The judge sentenced him to 25 years in federal prison. The civil cases came after. The insurance company sued Brendan's estate for fraud. The Reno project investors sued him for misrepresentation. Jessica filed for divorce and annulment. By the time all the legal dust settled, Brendan had nothing left except a prison cell and a mountain of debt. Jessica took it hard. She moved back to her apartment in Denver, refusing my offers to stay with me in Aspen. She needed space, needed to process what had happened, needed to rebuild her life. I gave her that space, but I called her every day, sent her texts, let her know I was there whenever she was ready. 6 months after the trial, she drove up to Aspen to visit me. We sat on my deck, overlooking the mountains, drinking coffee, not saying much. Finally, she said, "I should have seen it, should have known something was wrong. You loved him. Love makes us blind sometimes. He was going to kill you, my father, for money. But he didn't. I'm still here." She looked at me with tears in her eyes. "I almost lost you, but you didn't." We sat together as the sun set over the Rockies, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. My daughter leaned her head on my shoulder like she used to do when she was small. And I held her, grateful for every moment, every breath, every second chance. The money from my company's sale sits in a trust now, not the one I threatened to create, but a real one. Jessica has access to it, but with safeguards. Financial advisors, oversight, protection. I still live in my cabin in Aspen. Still go hiking on the Maroon Bells Trail, though I always bring company now. Marcus and I have become good friends. We meet for breakfast every Tuesday. Jessica is doing better. She's in therapy, working through the betrayal and the trauma. She started dating again recently, a teacher from Boulder who seems genuinely kind. She brings him to Aspen sometimes, and I grill him about his intentions and his finances and his character. She laughs at me for being overprotective, but I don't mind, because I learned something from all of this. I learned that money changes people, that desperation makes monsters, that the people closest to you can be the most dangerous. And I learned that surviving is just the first step. The real work is in protecting what matters, in staying vigilant, in never taking trust for granted. Sometimes I stand on my deck at sunrise, looking out at the mountains, and I think about that morning on the winding road when my brakes failed, about the sound of metal tearing and glass breaking, about the moment I realized someone wanted me dead. And then I think about Jessica's laugh when she visits, about the way she's rebuilding her life, about the strength she's shown in putting the pieces back together. That's what I survived for. Not the money, not revenge, but for her. For the chance to see my daughter become who she was meant to be, free from the shadow of a man who would have destroyed her. I'm now. I have a broken arm that healed crooked and gives me arthritis when the weather changes. I have scars across my forehead from 17 stitches. I have nightmares, sometimes about falling. But I have my life. I have my daughter. And I have the knowledge that when someone tried to take it all away, I fought back and won. That's worth more than $18 million. That's worth everything.